My name is Clara, and I am 21 years old. I love old things because they tell stories. That is why I loved working for my boss at the antique shop. Mr. Henderson seemed like a kind, wise man. I trusted him, but I was wrong. Very wrong. One broken vase revealed his evil secret, and suddenly, I realized my life was caught in a dangerous trap. This is the story of how my passion for truth saved me from a powerful man's lie. I started working at Mr. Henderson's antique shop because I was desperate. My father had a terrible accident, and the hospital bills were very high. I needed money fast to save him. In the beginning, Mr. Henderson was wonderful. He was 67 years old, but he was very active and wise. He treated me like a daughter. He taught me so much about old things. He showed me how to fix broken wood and how to find hidden marks on silver. I thought he was the kindest man in the world. I whispered to myself, I am finally safe. He often bought me delicious food and took me shopping for professional tools. I trusted him completely. I never saw the hidden danger behind his smile. Then, the nightmare started on a quiet Tuesday. Mr. Henderson pointed to a high shelf. Clara, please move the red vase to the display. It is very rare. It is worth $100,000, he said with a calm voice. I took a deep breath. I walked slowly to the shelf. I moved my hands very carefully, but the moment I touched the vase, I heard a sharp snap. Suddenly, the wooden shelf gave way. I felt a rush of cold air as the shelf broke. The vase fell. It hit the floor with a loud, heartbreaking sound. Crash! I stood there, frozen. I could not move. I could not breathe. I felt like the world was ending around me. My heart was beating like a hammer against my chest. I looked down at the floor. The beautiful red porcelain was now just 1,000 tiny pieces. I slowly sank to my knees. I knelt among the sharp fragments on the floor. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Tears began to run down my face. I knew my father was sick, and we had no money. Now, I owed Mr. Henderson a fortune I could never pay. I felt so small and helpless in that big, quiet shop. I was trapped. I looked at Mr. Henderson. I expected him to be angry. I expected him to call the police. But he didn't. Instead, he reached out and touched my arm gently. Clara, don't cry, he said with a soft voice. I know your family is poor. I know your father is very sick. I will help you. I felt a huge wave of relief. My heart stopped racing. I thought he was a hero. I whispered to myself, Thank you, God. He is a good man. During the next few weeks, he gave me more work to do at the shop. He told me I could earn extra money to pay for the hospital bills. I felt so thankful. He started to praise me every day. He used sweet words and gave me many compliments. You are the most beautiful and talented girl I know, he often said. He was a master of words. I felt special. I thought he was charming and attractive. I started to have feelings for him. He started to touch my hand more often while he was teaching me about antiques. Sometimes he stood very close behind me. I felt his warmth. At first, I was a little confused. But then I thought, he is just being friendly. He is my teacher. I felt like I was in a beautiful dream. I didn't realize I was running out of time to see the truth. But one late evening, everything changed. We went to a very fancy restaurant for dinner. After we finished eating, he suddenly grabbed my hand across the table. His grip was strong. Clara, be my girlfriend, he said. Stay with me. I sat there in total silence. I did not know what to say. I felt very hesitant. My mind was spinning. I took a deep breath, trying to find my voice. Then he leaned closer. His voice was low and serious. I am very good to you, Clara. I did not ask for the $100,000 because I care about you. He smiled. but his eyes were cold. "But if you say no, I must have the money back. If you don't pay, you will go to jail. Who will take care of your father then?" I felt a cold fear in my stomach. My hands were shaking under the table. He told me to go home. He gave me exactly 1 day to make a decision. I went back to the shop that night. I sat in my small workroom. I looked at the broken pieces of the red vase. I was trying to glue the fragments together, but they didn't fit. The room was very quiet. I took a deep sigh. I felt so alone. The next morning, I made a decision. I said yes. I did it for my father. I did it because I was afraid of the prison. But part of me also liked his attention. I felt like a bird in a golden cage. I knew my life was changing, but I didn't know how dark the secret was. A few weeks passed since the accident. I felt a bit calmer now. I spent many hours in my small workroom. I wanted to fix the broken pieces of the red vase. I wanted to show Mr. Henderson that I was a hard worker and a good partner. But as I cleaned the fragments, I noticed something strange. I looked closely at the clay inside the porcelain. It was very smooth and white. My hands started to shake a little. I remembered our lesson from last week. Mr. Henderson taught me how to identify 18th century ceramics. He showed me that real antique clay has small imperfections and a specific texture. I whispered to myself, "This clay is wrong." I looked at the broken pieces under a magnifying glass. Then I found it, hidden deep under the red glaze. There was a tiny mark. It was a modern factory stamp. My heart began to beat very fast. This was not a rare antique. This was a replica. It was a fake. Mr. Henderson was out of the shop for a big auction. I felt a sudden courage. I needed to know the truth. I began to search the shop quietly. I found a small wooden desk in the back corner. One drawer was locked. I used a small restoration tool to open it. My breathing was heavy. Inside, I found a yellow folder. My eyes widened. There was an invoice from a local pottery factory. It said, 1 replica red vase, price $100. I also found a photo of the real vase. It was in a museum in London. I sat down on the floor. The room was completely silent. I took a deep sigh. I felt a cold anger in my chest. Mr. Henderson thought I was just an uneducated student. He did not know I had deep knowledge. He knew I was poor, and he used a $100 toy to steal my freedom. I realized his kind face was just a mask. I was not his girlfriend. I was a victim of a very big lie. I knew I had to be smart. I had to plan my move. The next evening, I arrived at Mr. Henderson's big villa. My heart was pounding against my ribs. I felt a cold sweat on my forehead. I whispered to myself, "You can do this, Clara. Stay strong." I was hiding a big secret. I knew his expensive vase was a fake, but I acted like a perfect, scared student. I thought about the other interns who worked at the shop before me. They always left after only 1 or 2 months. Now, I understood why. Henderson was a predator, but this time, I was ready. I had 2 recording devices, my phone and a tiny digital recorder, hidden in my pocket. I turned them both on before I entered. I also set my phone to automatically upload the audio to the cloud. My best friend was watching the data live. I knew I had to protect myself. When I saw Henderson, I forced a sweet smile. "I have made my decision," I said with a soft voice. I acted like a young girl in love. I walked closer to him and looked into his eyes. Then I shared the secret he wanted to hear. "Mr. Henderson, I am a virgin. This is my first time with a man." I stood still for a moment, waiting. He let out a long breath. A slow, greedy smile grew on his face. He looked like a man who had just found a diamond in the trash. I felt a wave of nausea, but I didn't show it. I took a deep sigh to stay calm. "I am so thankful to you," I continued. I touched his arm gently. I was so scared about the $100,000. Thank you for being so kind and patient with me. I want to give you everything tonight. Henderson laughed. It was a loud, confident sound. He thought he had total control over me. Then, I acted a little bit jealous. I made my voice sound like I was pouting. But tell me, were you this kind to the other girls too? Did you love them like you love me? I asked. I was waiting for him to brag about his evil game. I knew the truth was coming. I just had to wait for him to speak. Henderson laughed and pulled me closer. No, Clara. You are different. I never treated the others this well. They were just temporary, but you are special. I felt a wave of deep disgust in my stomach. I knew he was lying. He probably said the same thing to every girl he trapped. I whispered to myself, "Your sick game ends tonight." I forced a smile and looked at him. "Go take a shower first, dear. I want to wait for you here." When the bathroom door closed, my hands were shaking. I moved very fast. I grabbed a piece of paper and a pen. I wrote a short note. "This is our special night. I want to give you a much bigger surprise. I am waiting for you at the antique shop. Come now." I left the note on the pillow and ran out into the cold night air. The shop was dark and quiet. I stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by old things that held so many secrets. When Henderson walked in a few minutes later, he was wearing a silk robe. He looked happy and confident. "Clara, where is my surprise?" he asked. I stood by the broken pieces of the red vase. "This vase is a fake, Mr. Henderson," I said. My voice was loud and cold. He stopped moving. His face turned pale in the moonlight. "It is a $100 replica. You planned the accident to steal my freedom. You are a liar and a monster." He stood frozen for a long moment. I took a deep sigh to let the silence sink in. My heart was steady now. "I recorded every word you said tonight, Henderson," I continued. "The files are already saved in the cloud. My best friend has them. If I disappear, the police get everything." Suddenly, his kind mask was gone. He laughed, but it was an evil, sharp sound. "You are smart, Clara. Much smarter than the others," he said. His eyes were like ice. "But listen to me. I am powerful. If you tell anyone, I will destroy your career. You will never work in this city again. Stay quiet and obey me, or you will have nothing." I looked him in the eye. "I have enough evidence to destroy you," I said firmly. Henderson's face turned white, and his hands began to shake. He was terrified. A famous dealer selling fakes? He would lose his reputation and his wealth forever. He quickly wrote a large check for compensation to buy my silence. I took the money and immediately paid for my father's life-saving surgery. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders, but I knew I couldn't stop there. I found a hidden list of former interns in his computer. I realized he had hurt many innocent women before me. I whispered to myself, "Their voices will finally be heard." I contacted them, and together we sent all the recordings to the Antique Association anonymously. His career was over, and his shop was closed. I felt a great sense of peace. Justice was finally served for all of us. Now, I have my own small restoration shop. It is a peaceful place. I stand by the window, holding a beautiful new vase. I smile as the warm sun shines on my face. I am not afraid of broken things anymore. I know how to fix them, and I have finally fixed my own life. Real love never comes with threats or debt. Your value is not about how much money you owe. It is about your honesty and your knowledge. Scammers often use kindness to hide their evil hearts. But remember this, the truth will always find the light. Stay strong and believe in your own power. Let's look at the important lessons from Clara's journey. First, always watch for red flags. Be very careful with people who are too kind or offer help with secret, personal conditions. If something feels wrong in your heart, it usually is. Trust your gut feeling. Second, understand the power of expertise. Clara was not just a victim, she was a student who studied hard. Her deep knowledge of antiques was her greatest weapon. It allowed her to see through the lies of a powerful man. Never stop learning, because your skills can save your life one day. Finally, you must protect yourself. In our modern world, always have a backup plan. Just like Clara used her phone to record and sync data to the cloud, you should use every tool to keep yourself safe. Do not face danger alone. Share your situation with a trusted friend or professional. By being smart and prepared, you can set boundaries and protect your freedom. Remember, you have the power to control your own story and your own future. Have you ever met someone who looked kind but had an evil secret? Share your story in the comments or write "Justice for Clara." Press 1 if you think she should have called the police, or 2 if you like how she solved it. Like and subscribe for more English stories. Have a beautiful and safe day.